In heraldry, tinctures are the colors used to emblazon a coat of arms. These can be divided into several categories including light tinctures called metals, dark tinctures called colors, non-standard colors called stains, patterns called furs, and proper. A charge described as proper is colored as it would be found in nature. Use of tinctures. One of the few fundamental rules of heraldry is that metals must not be placed upon other metals and colors must not be placed upon other colors, while furs and proper can sometimes be placed upon either or both. This is referred to as the rule of tincture. Non-standard colors called stains were introduced in the late Middle Ages, but have largely been shunned as contrary to the heraldic spirit of bold images and bright, contrasting colors. A peculiar fad of the Renaissance sought to couple each tincture with an associated planet, gemstone, flower, astrological sign, etc., but this practice was soon abandoned and is now regarded as wildly divergent from the science of heraldry. The 19th century saw the rise of landscape heraldry, and extensive use of charges tinctured proper, especially in augmentations, but this practice too has been deprecated as essentially unheraldic. Basic tinctures. English heraldry recognizes 7 principal tinctures, consisting of 2 metals, or light tinctures, and 5 colors, or dark tinctures. On the continent, however, especially in German and Nordic heraldry, purple is not used on the shield, but is reserved for the royal pavilion, the lining of some royal crowns and the caps of some of the high nobility. Some continental heraldic traditions also recognize white as a color distinct from silver. While some heraldic authors recommend a particular shade for each color, there is only one red in heraldry, and only one green, one blue, etc. The exceptions to this include the 16th century development of stains and the later development of natural colors, which are seldom found. Nomenclature. The names of the tinctures mainly come to us from Norman French, azure is from the French azur, from Arabic laswad, from Persian lasant sword meaning lapis lazuli. Sable is named after the fur of the sable martin. Gules may be from the French gueules, which is thought by some to refer to animals' red throats. Although the English term vert is also from French, the French use the word sinople to refer to the tincture. The patterns illustrated are occasionally used to depict arms in a monochromatic context, such as a hatching, or engraving. Argent and white equals, the tincture argent should be shown as white, never grey, in an attempt to approximate silver, which in its polished form is not grey. Arthur Charles Fox Davis argued that, in rare circumstances, white can be a heraldic colour different from argent. He based this in part on the white labels used to difference the arms of members of the British royal family. However, it has been argued that these could be regarded as white labels proper, rather than of a heraldic tincture. In Portuguese heraldry, white seems to be regarded as a tincture different from argent, as evidenced by the arms of Santiago do Cacá copyright M, in which the white of the fallen Moor's clothing and the knight's horse is distinguished from the argent of the distant castle, and in the arms of the logistical and administrative command of the Portuguese Air Force. Or is often spelt with a capital letter to avoid confusion with the conjunction or, though some heralds capitalize all tinctures. Sometimes the word gold is used for emblazon either to prevent repetition of the word or because this substitution was the fashion in a particular period, or, more rarely, because it is the preference of an officer of arms. Regardless, or is much more frequently used. Proper equals, objects may also be depicted in their natural colors, described in blazons as proper. Sometimes when proper alone would not give adequate information as to the appearance, a color must also then be given. Proper is considered to be an adjectival description rather than a tincture, distinct from whatever heraldic tincture the depiction of the item or being in question would most closely approximate. An unusual case is in the colonial coat of arms of Algiers, in which the bullet on which the lion rests his paw is stated to be the same proper, or naturel, as the lion. Some consider it bad form to depict too many charges as proper, especially when those charges create a landscape. This experienced a vogue during the Victorian period, but came to be deprecated as being excessively difficult to draw from blazon, and somewhat contrary to the spirit of heraldry as favouring bold, clear, and unmistakable designs. Later tinctures later heraldry introduced additional colors. Only 3 are of more than exceptional use in British heraldry: Murray, Sanguine and Tenor copyright. These were sometimes called Steinan colors or stains, as some rebatements of honor were said to be blazoned of these colors. Almost none of these rebatements are found in fact of heraldic practice, however, and in British heraldry the stains find more than exceptional use only for purposes of livery. Other colors, particularly those used in Europe, include carnation, blue celeste, cendra copyright E. The ash color in the arms of Gwylt of South Wales may be the same tincture as cendra copyright E. It is important, however, to distinguish descriptions of a type of animal followed by proper, from true heraldic tinctures. These are rarer. The 7 primary tinctures are the most common ones. Rarer still are other such continental colors as brunacenta, the extremely unusual occurrences of which are almost entirely limited to details of charges that might be blazoned as proper, with exceptions such as the brown lion rampant in the arms of Cima Cube den Bolivar. A field brunacenta almost never occurs, though brunata is used more often than might be suspected in South African heraldry. The arms of the Oziel Celial Comprehensive School are officially blazoned brunata, a torch argent inflamed or between 2 open rolls of parchment argent, an or. It is blazoned braun in German heraldry. In German heraldry there are also the colors grey, Eisen, and watercolor, though there are unique appearances of grey in the heraldry of South Africa and the United States. Earth color appears not only occasionally in German heraldry, but there is at least one appearance of earth color in English blazon, in the arms of the Royal Miners Company, and in the arms of Santiago de Cali, Colombia. The color amaranth, or columbine, was used in a coat granted to a Bohemian knight in 1701. The arms of the Jewish Autonomous Region in Russia have a field of aquamarine, which is emblazoned more as a kind of dark green than a true aquamarine color. In 1997, the color rose and the metal copper appeared in Canada, the former in the arms of Prime Minister Kim Campbell. The latter can be seen in the coat of arms of Whitehorse, Yukon, granted in 2002. In South African heraldry, the arms of the University of Transkei provide an example of ochre and the national arms of red ochre. In the heraldry of the United States Army the shades of colors and metals are often parenthetically specified, though this is far from in keeping with normal heraldic practice. The Institute of Heraldry has also introduced the colors buff and horizon blue, and silver gray has appeared in the heraldry of the Army and Air Force. There seems to be some confusion about the color crimson as it exists and blazoned sometimes as a separate tincture and sometimes as a definition of the shade of gules to be employed by the artist. Bronze makes appearances in the arms of the Special Troops Battalion of the 2nd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division and those of Tumaco, Colombia. Furs. Furs, such as ermine, bear, and their variants, are regular patterns that represent actual fur. Any charge may be tinctured of a fur, though furs occur infrequently in German and Nordic heraldry. In German heraldry, K1 RSCH is sometimes used, but this is seldom found elsewhere. Although the name sable comes from a kind of fur, the color sable is not considered a heraldic fur. Ermine and its variants equals. Ermine represents the winter coat of the stoat, which is white with a black tail. The linings of many medieval coronation cloaks in the chapeau of high-ranking peers were made by sewing together many furs to produce a luxurious white fur lining with patterns of small hanging black-tipped tails. The conventional representation of the tails is considered part of the tincture itself, rather than a pattern of charges, though the ermine spot may also be used singly as a mobile charge. The ermine spot has had a wide variety of shapes over the centuries. Its most usual representation has 3 tufts at the end, converges to a point at the root, and is attached by 3 studs. Ermines is the reverse of ermine, a field sable, same a copyright of ermine spots argent. It is sometimes called counter-ermine. Erminoi is ermine with a field or instead of argent, and peen is the reverse of erminoi. Eminence is supposed to be the same as ermine, except that the 2 lateral hairs of each spot are red. Its existence in actual heraldic practice is doubted, however, and Arthur Charles Fox Davis describes it as a silly invention of former heraldic writers, not of former heralds. Ver and its variants equals. Ver originated from alternately patterned pieces of fur from a species of squirrel with blue-grey back and white belly. The term ver was brought into Middle English from Old French, from Latin various variegated. Basic ver consists of rows of small bell-like shapes of alternating blue and white, nowadays usually drawn with straight edges. The bells on the next row down are placed with their bottoms facing the bottoms of the bells on the row above, and so forth down. The old depictions of ver are similar in appearance to bars of azure and argent divided by alternating straight and wavy lines. In the past this would simply be blazoned ver, but nowadays this is usually blazoned ver ancient. Variations include several different arrangements of the pieces into other patterns. Via a copyright or ver is used when a ver-like pattern is represented using any tinctures other than azure and argent. Very rarely, the individual pieces of ver are used as charges. Potent is like ver, except using a T shape instead of a bell shape. The word potent means crutch. It is thought to derive from badly drawn ver. It is subject to all the sub-varieties of ver, thus counterpotent, potenta copyright X and Y, and so on. Potent is also employed in blazonry in other ways, not directly related to the fur, such as the cross-potent, the line potenta copyright or potency, and other forms, such as the fess potent counterpotent. Other furs German heraldry recognizes a fur called K 1/4 RSCH. This is said to be drawn brown and hairy, and there are occasional references in English to ver bellies, which may be the same thing. Combination furs are also occasionally found in German heraldry. Plumata copyright is a feather-like pattern of exceptionally rare appearance which is placed in the category of furs. It can be used essentially as a type of patterned field. Plumeti d'aigle proper is distinguished in at least one case, though the tincture in this case is a form of proper. Papillona copyright is a pattern supposed to resemble the scales on the wings of a butterfly. Rule of tincture. The first so-called rule of heraldry is the rule of tincture: metal should not be placed upon metal, nor color upon color, for the sake of contrast. The main duty of a heraldic device is to be recognized, and the dark colors or light metals are supposed to be too difficult to distinguish if they are placed on top of other dark or light colors, particularly in poor light. Though this is the practical genesis of the rule is technical and appearance is not used in determining whether arms conform to the rule. Another reason sometimes given to justify this rule is that it was difficult to paint with enamel over enamel, or with metal over metal. This rule has at times been followed so pedantically that arms that violate it were called armfouses or arma-lengua copyrightra. Any violation was presumed to be intentional, to the point that one was supposed to inquire how it came to pass. One of the most famous arma-lengua copyrightra was the shield of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which had gold crosses on silver. This use of metal on metal, that is to say white and gold together, is seen on the arms of the King of Jerusalem, the flag and arms of the Vatican, and the bishop's mitre in the arms of Andorra. It indicates the exceptional holy and special status of the coat of arms. An example of colour on colour is the arms of Albania, with its sable two-headed eagle on a gules field. The rule of tincture has had an influence reaching far beyond heraldry. It has been applied to the design of flags, so that the flag of Sakes I Marius Senech was modified to conform to the rule. Blazon. It was formerly customary to avoid repeating the name of any tincture. For example, gules on a fess or a rose gules seeded or would be expressed as gules on a fess or a rose of the field seeded at the second. This practice has, over 100 years ago, been abandoned by the English College of Arms because in a complicated blazon it can cause confusion. The College of Arms has also adopted the policy of no internal commas to be used in blazons and all nouns commence with an initial capital except for proper, which is always in lower case as it is an adjective rather than a noun. Likewise, instead of vertifess or between two lions passant or, one would say, vertifess between two lions passant or. A tincture applies to all charges named since the last tincture mentioned. The U.S. Army Institute of Heraldry often uses the phrase of the like in a similar context, differing from the usual English language practice. Counterchanging and countercoloring. When a charge is placed across a division line, variation, or ordinary, it may be counterchanged, meaning that the charge is divided the same way as the field behind it, with the colors reversed. However, some patterns, such as shiqui, do not permit charges over them to be treated this way. In the arms of Bensdorf, seen at right, the field is divided with the left half white and the right half green, and the counterchanged tree is green where it lies on the white part of the field, and white where it lies on the green part of the field. The flag of Maryland is another example of counterchanging. The only U.S. state flag to be directly based on English heraldry, it is the arms of George Calvert, 1st Baron Baltimore, who founded the colony of Maryland in 1632. In the first and fourth quarters, the field is divided into 6 vertical bands of gold and black with a diagonal band in which the colors are reversed. The second and third quarters are themselves quartered between white and red with a counterchanged cross botany that is red where it lies on the white part of the field and white where it lies on the red part of the field. A shield which is green on the upper half and silver on the lower, charged at the center with a lion whose upper half is silver and lower half green, would be blazoned, per fess-vert and argent, a lion counterchanged. In Scots heraldry, a charge may be blazoned as counterchanged of different colors from the field. For example, per fess gules and azure, a sun in splendor counterchanged or wand of the first. In English heraldry, this would be described as per fess gules and azure, a sun in splendor per fess or and of the first. Similarly to counterchanging, if multiple charges appear on 2 opposing divisions of the field, they may be blazoned countercolored, meaning that the charges in a division of the field bear the color of the opposing division of the field. An example may be seen in the Fenwick arms, blazoned originally as silver, rather than the expected argent a chief gules with 6 martlets countercolored, in which the chief gules bears 3 martlets argent and the base argent correspondingly bears 3 martlets gules. Gemstone planet blazoning. During the late medieval period and Renaissance, there was an occasional practice of blazoning tinctures by gemstones, or by references to the 7 classical planets, as summarized in the tables below. See also, tricking. Sylvester Petra Sancta, heraldist and inventor of the modern tincture hatching method used in heraldry, though claim is disputed with the identical tincture hatching method of Marcus Volson de la Colombia republished in the same period. Hatching system. Notes. References: Fox Davis, A.C. The Art of Heraldry, An Encyclopedia of Armory. New York, Benjamin Blom, Incorporated. LCCN 68-56481, Fox Davis, A.C. A Complete Guide to Heraldry. Whitefish, Montana, Kessinger Publishing. ISBN 1-4179-0630-8 LCCN 09-23803. External links, media related to heraldic figures at Wikimedia Commons.